Hello, welcome, and bar weep gragnar weep ninibong to the Dicebreaker podcast.
Thanks, Hot Rod.
It's Hot Wheels, thank you very much. We, as Chimera LR has just pointed out in the chat, there is no Matt this week, so let the chaos ensue.
Dad isn't
welcome.
here, so
welcome to the
I think
live.
me and Meeha might be the wrong way around, but also
Oh
hi,
god,
welcome.
you are the wrong way around, but it's fine.
I'm now
because
Olivia.
it's live.
Oh my god,
Oh god.
Oh no, you're seeing behind the curtain.
Oh,
oh jeez. Oh
God,
jeez, old man.
Well,
Oh god,
what's
oh
happening
jeez.
to me? I'm in
Matt.
cyberspace. Help! Help!
wow. Oh, there you go.
Oh, thank goodness. I've been
A big
rescued.
shout out to anyone listening to the audio version of this podcast. No idea what just happened. If you're
was,
not already aware, we record this live now every 2 p.m. UK time on youtube.com/Dicebreaker, which is what we're doing right now as we move around all of the blocks in OBS and things break apart, and it's good fun.
That was just it was just an audio theatre experience.
It was, yeah. Imagine that you were watching something chaotic. We are back here for the Dicebreaker podcast. If you're a new listener and this is your first time here, this is where we discuss not only all the fun things that we've been doing this week, but a tiny bit of board game news, a fun game that we play, which we decide on each week. We've got a really stupid one coming for this one, so look forward to that.
Surprise!
And we also answer some questions both from the live chat and emails, as Alex Meehan might say. Speaking of Alex Meehan, I'm joined by two members of the team. If you don't already know, I'm Michael Wheels Whelan, the head of video, but I'm also joined by Alex Meehan. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm no longer Olivia Kennedy.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm back in my rightful place. The dumpster.
Well, I'm on the same level as you, so I see what that says.
No, I'm doing great. I wasn't here last week, so I've saved up all my energy to unleash this week. So I hope you're ready for that.
And we are also joined by Olivia Kennedy, video producer. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I don't know why we opened it up with the universal greeting. We were talking about Transformers. So for anyone who doesn't understand what that means, that's fine.
Like me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were a bit worried if any of our alien robotic brethren were listening.
Yeah.
They weren't sure if we were friendly, but now they know. So we've just prevented an entire disaster.
Well,
like a galactic disaster.
I had the wiki page open there, so I can just explain it to anyone who's not familiar. The universal greeting is used as a means to express goodwill toward alien beings when a language barrier is present. However, it does not always work that way. It is commonly transliterated as "bar weep gragnar weep ninibong." So if anyone comes across an alien species and you don't know what language they're speaking and they don't know what language you're speaking, just use that and it's all good.
Yeah, and then you get and then you get a boombox and you start playing Weird Al Yankovic's "Dare to Be Stupid," and then you're golden.
I've learned so much about the Transformers soundtrack from you both. Very excited.
you can thank Johnny Chianini for that.
Yeah.
Again, like, I did not watch the Transformers film because I was not born in the 80s, but there you go. Me and I think have learned about it via either Johnny or H Bomber Guy. Like, it's a combination of the two. We also don't have a Lolies in, so I'm just going to get up the bingo call for episode 60.
Oh,
and it's a double whammy. There's one which I don't know why anyone would use this in comparison to the other option. And there's one which I think Meehan will very, very much enjoy. So the crap one is episode 60, 5 dozen.
Yeah, we've seen that before, that format.
We know. We know that 60 is 5 times 12.
Come on. Let's see something new here, Jingo people.
It took me a while to figure it out. I was like, wait a minute, isn't it 5 times? No, I'm bad at math.
Me too.
Basically.
Don't worry, me too.
You're not alone.
I think this is the bad at maths call. This is all the people on the team who are bad at maths, so there you go.
Audience, if you're also bad at maths, let us know.
You have a home here. Welcome back. But more importantly, not only is that awful, but why would you do that instead of episode 60, Grandma's Getting Frisky?
Why did you think myself specifically will love that? Is that because one, I am grandma and therefore getting frisky?
Yeah.
Or two, I just like the idea of grandmas getting frisky?
Exactly, yeah. That's that.
Good
You've
for
summed it
her.
up in two there.
Hey, just because you're older doesn't mean you can't have a fulfilling sex life.
Yes,
sure.
and that's what we always say here on the Dicebreaker podcast.
That's what we
It's
always
one of our
say.
many mottos here on
Isn't that the
Dicebreaker.
tagline of the show? Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
We are OAP sex positive. That's
Yeah.
that's what we're all about here at Dicebreaker. Big thank you for the super chat from James with a B. Transformers chat is a brilliant way to start. Have some money for some of the best people around, especially Liv, who is a great addition to the team. Yeah, if anyone's not seen yet, Liv is our brand new hire, who has a cute little fox in the background.
I do. That's my fox.
Yeah.
And Meehan was saying that the fox has a wonky eye. He doesn't.
He's just a bit.
This
you know,
fair.
I said well loved.
He's
I
just
said
melting
well
a little.
loved.
He's been in the sun for too long.
Well, we actually have sun now, thank goodness. So
Yeah.
that could actually be true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's true.
speaking of what we currently have now, Meehan, are memories. Memories of all the fantastic things that we've done this week. Would you like to regale us with a lovely tale of all of the things that you've been doing / playing this week? It's how we kick off the podcast. A little retrospective.
Yeah. Retrospective.
This spective is retro.
That'll be on the soundboard.
Oh no.
When you actually get a soundboard, this podcast is going to go through the floor.
I beg you do not give me control of that soundboard. You will regret it because I will have an amazing time. I'll never be happier, but it will ruin the show. I would love to tell you what I've been playing. Of course I would. This week, we played a few things for some videos. Little sneak peek there. And one of those things was Libertalia.
Arr.
Yar. Which
Yeah.
which I have actually talked about on the podcast before. But this time I played it with Liv, Lolies, and our very own Matthew Jarvis. To be honest, I might hand this over to Liv just to see what your thoughts are, because you'd never played this before.
Never played it. No. Like I said, there are some numbers involved, and I'm bad at math. So that was. But other than that, no, I really enjoyed it. I think I would need to play it a few times for me to actually like know exactly what I was doing and how to like make them big plays. Because I think me and you and Lolies in particular were just kind of like you'd played it before, so you were like making them plays, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I am known for making them play.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You're almost like a high school American football coach. You're always thinking about them plays.
You and Lolies were like huddled up, if I recall. Like...
there was like a time where I tried this on Board Game Arena without really knowing what was going on, and I jumped in. And if you don't really know how the game works, it is a bit confusing. Like it's like
very confusing.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? It's a game that has grown on me. I do like it. It's got a lot of potential for meanness, which is why I think Lolies really enjoys it.
Yeah.
Because she's competitive.
They should call her Alex Take That Lolies.
Take that, yeah. Hopefully a reference to the mechanic, not the band.
Well, it could be either. If Gary Barlow
get him out of it. No, it's a really good. It is one of those games that even though I do quite well, I cannot fully say I understand completely what's happening.
Did you win? I can't remember.
I don't want to give it away.
Right. Yes. I mean, spoilers.
Yeah. What's the point of watching?
I
know.
For the entertainment, Meeha.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. I can assure you of that. But yeah, I think it's the case of, the thing is, a lot of it is remembering what's been played, and I'm really bad at that because I don't want to have to put that kind of information in my brain and hold on to it. I just want to, keep going with the flow, as it were. And to be honest, I think a lot of it is just about luck, about how I'm feeling that round. Whether I'm pumped enough.
Where have you got those plays in your head?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's just got a lot of. I think most interesting part of it is once you branch out from that first round and people have different cards in their hands. Then it becomes a lot more interesting. Just to give like a rough overview of Libertalia, it's a pirate game, if that wasn't already obvious, where you have 3 campaigns which last over 6 days, I think.
I think 6.
Because the Sundays are for resting.
Yeah. Pirates were famously religious. They would never steal on the Sabbath.
And obviously each day there's an amount of booty to get. Each player has to play a card, and those cards will have numbers on them. The higher the number, the sooner you get to pick booty. And obviously all the good booty is going to go first. However, those cards also have like different powers and such on them, and some of them can be really quite wild, where ranging from, there's a parrot card that you can swap out with another card when it's in the row. There's cards that kind of murder other people's cards, both in the row and in their den, which is where cards go after they've been used to get booty. And then that's sort of another mechanic where you can get points that way, or doubloons, more accurately.
Arr.
And then there's like 3 rounds of that, and then whoever has the most money at the end wins. So it's fairly straightforward in concept, but then the cards kind of really make things a bit wild. It's really fun. So I do enjoy Libertalia. I hope it comes back into print, especially as we've talked about this before. There are like 2 black characters, I think, in the game.
Yeah.
And
not great.
Yeah. It needs modernizing very, very badly.
Well, that is something that I will be chatting about in a little bit when I discuss what I've played. So callbacks. So stay tuned for callbacks.
There's a thematic thing going on with this episode: Transformers and representation.
Transformers and representation is actually what we're renaming the podcast, by the way.
And the other game I've played this week is Downforce, which I also played with Liv, Lolies and Matt. I'd never played it before. I think the only person who played it was Matt.
Yep.
Who taught us it, and I really enjoyed it. It's like Camel Up, but less random.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely that's great. Camel Up just kind of, I think when there's like a lack of logic to anything and it's just blind luck, because I have no luck whatsoever. It's just like a bit of a I can't control this kind of thing. But with Downforce, like everything you do from the very start has like a direct outcome on whether or not you're going to win. Like, for example, small spoiler, one of us kept going into debt with with the auctions that we were like putting up, but like in one round it didn't pay off at all, in the next maybe it did, who knows, no spoilers. But it's I really enjoyed it, and also there's a fun competitiveness with it that just I quite enjoyed it.
It's a remake of a previous game called Top Race, I believe, that was popular during like the 70s or something.
Much crapper name.
And then it was kind of remade by Restoration Games, who are kind of in the business of remaking really older games and bringing them into the kind of modern era. They're doing that with Dark Tower at some point.
They've done Fireball Island and some other things. Don't they also do Matchup or whatever it's called?
Match Attack.
No, the thing where you've got
Unmatched.
Unmatched. That's the one.
No, they don't.
Oh, okay.
I remember. I think that's Mondo Games. Anyway, I thought this was a really good game. I still really like Camel Up, but you just have to go into Camel Up with the understanding of it's random kind of nonsense, and the best you can do is maybe make a good bet. But
hold on tight to your camel.
Yeah,
let things go.
Downforce is definitely a more strategic experience, and it's still really good fun, and it's really quick, and it's actually really easy, like in terms of to learn. It's very straightforward. It's not complicated at all. I was worried when I saw it because I was like, I'd heard Rallyman GT. It's a bit like that, obviously, because it's still a racing game, but I've heard Rallyman is a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I think Rallyman's more of like a simulation, sort of game. I think because it's more concerned with like actual like apex of corners and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, whereas Downforce is more like you get the car and then you can bet on it.
Just a quick point. It's Mondo and Restoration who do Unmatched.
You were right.
Oh, okay.
So we were both right.
Yeah, we were both right.
Wow.
But anyway, that was really good. So you can catch both of those in future video releases. So if you want to watch the full story, then you should definitely give that a go. Other than that, I watched Eurovision.
I also watched Eurovision.
Felt like I wanted to bring that up because
it was as bad as it always is.
Honestly, I stopped watching Eurovision like a few years ago because I was kind of not really hugely into it. I hate the really boring ballads, and it just seemed like a lot of the entries were those, and it just wasn't gelling with me. But then I watched it again this year for the first time in a while, and it was just it was really good this year. It was like that missing year kind of gave the people involved like a renewed sense of energy, and they were like, we're just gonna go for it. So there were only like a few ballads, predictably boring.
That is absolutely one of the worst parts about most Eurovisions is when it's just like, I'm gonna put one person on a stage and they're just gonna sing really loud.
And I was worried when Switzerland and France were up there in the scoring. I was like, oh no, both ballads. I wasn't a fan of either song. But then who came up the rear? It's Italy, everyone.
I thought Italy wasn't that good. I was really upset that Iceland didn't get the
Iceland should have won.
Iceland knocked out of the park, and then for some reason, just no one voted for them. I have no idea why.
It's such a shame that Iceland was my favourite, but I am gladder that Italy won than those two, because Italy, I realised you should have said come up from the rear.
Yeah, not
the rear. I feel like that phrasing is still appropriate, considering that Italy, the Italian entry was just debauched and wonderful, and I'm very happy for them.
So there was obviously there was a clip that went round.
Yeah,
we all know that. Yeah, there's a clip that went round that made it look like one of the members of the Italian act were like doing coke when they were on camera. But there was a TikTok from a woman who has like a classical art degree and knows how like perspective works and things like that, to prove that they weren't at table level and therefore could not have been snorting from one.
Yeah, it was wild and also so impressive. Great. Like I actually had no idea what somebody who studies art history really does. I didn't know it was anything to do with that. That's
just exciting. Like they see how old a painting is. I think that's the entire thing, right? As far as I'm aware.
What mattered was a group of heroes rose up for the cause, like the Avengers, and sort of an unlikely group of heroes teamed up to like prove that wasn't correct. But
yeah,
there you go. That's what I've been up to.
Nice, great, sounds just a good time.
Well, let's move on to Liv. Did you also watch Eurovision?
I didn't, and I like religiously watch it every year, but this year I don't know what I was doing. I think maybe as I was asleep, probably.
So there are two things that I did not realize.
Mm-hmm.
One, I didn't know there were like semi and quarterfinals and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw those being like, but do they just do the same song every single time?
Presumably, yeah.
Surely,
I guess so.
Because it's the song that they're really judging, not necessarily the group, because that's the only song they're going to play. It's not like the group is going to play a set. It's like just that song.
I just don't know why you'd ever watch the semis and the quarters if you're just going to be like, it's the same songs over and over again.
if it's like a banger, then maybe. But other than that, no. I remember this one year where everyone was just super excited because what's his name? Wrote Cats.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone was like, "Oh, the UK's entry is going to be amazing. Andrew Lloyd Webber is writing it. It's going to be so good."
I have to know. Aiden Folk says, "I thought the UK brought up the rear."
Well, the other thing I was going to talk about is something that Big Graham highlighted on the commentary. Big G. He was saying that like the big five nations in Europe, i.e. the UK, Italy, Spain, Germany, whatever, they all like pay to be in every year. I had no idea that this was a thing. So like because and it kind of makes sense for the UK. We suck ass every year so hard that we have to physically pay them to let us in the competition.
I am fairly certain that the only reason we are ever in the competition
is because we pay for it.
Because we pay.
No, 100%. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. It's like everyone was blowing up about the European Super League in football, but this is exactly what's happening in Eurovision.
It's fine. It's not like the UK ever really gets anywhere. So it's like we're kind of just paying to be humiliated.
It's honestly, but then you go on like you'll have like This Morning, and they were like, "Oh, it was an absolute disgrace. I thought he did very well." It's like, did he? I thought he was very bad.
Yeah,
I began to enjoy it way more like when I stopped hoping that the UK would go anywhere, and then I was like, okay.
I cheered when I found out we got 0 points.
I did as well. I also cheered, and my parents were like, "Why are you cheering?" I'm like, "You wouldn't understand. It's my generation." Anyway, Liv, what have you been playing?
Yeah.
What have I been doing? Same as you. So, well, a couple of them. I played Libertalia with you and Downforce, and also me and you did a wonderful job at GMing for us when we played some low stakes.
Yeah, I missed out on this. I was like dying.
Yeah, it did sound like you were in a good way. But yeah, no. Low stakes. Me and you can probably jump in here if I miss anything, but it's a role-playing game where it's based basically on What We Do in the Shadows, the film and the TV series, and it's just a bunch of supernatural creatures living in a house together and coming up against a bunch of kind of mundane-ish, I guess problems, like everyday problems, and tackling that without being discovered by the human world. And I had a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun GMing it, apart from Matt Jarvis inevitably trying to break the entire system, as he does. As a little teaser for you there. No, it's a really easy system to GM and play. You can get it from Drive-Thru RPG right now. I'm pretty sure it's very cheap. It's if you like naughty sitcoms, there's a really good mechanic in there where you do confessionals. So you literally turn to the camera and say something about yourself or about other people, and then that can kind of gain you advantages in roles. So it's not really a game you roll a lot in. It's more about roleplay in terms of acting and sort of sketch comedy, almost not sketch comedy, but like improv.
Yeah. I was already going to put this out, but Zhivko Yakimov, in the comments has also pointed out, whilst it is inspired by What We Do in the Shadows, the original people who are like mythical creatures living in a house together, being human.
Absolutely.
What was that, Channel 4 or was that BBC 2?
It was BBC 3.
BBC 3.
Yeah,
of course it was BBC 3.
It was BBC 3. I watched it when it first came out.
I remember there was the guy with his edgy fingerless gloves.
Yeah.
Who was in Spooks, wasn't he? Didn't that guy end up in Spooks? Oh god.
Who are you talking about?
I'm remembering it very loosely. I don't know any actors' names.
Are you talking about Aidan Turner?
Aidan Turner? Was it Aidan Turner?
Aidan Turner is actually like quite a big actor now. He was in the Hobbit series and a few other things. But he started pretty much with Being Human. I really like that show. It started off really strong. There is legitimately a season of that show that is very good, where they really push things, both with the comedy, because there are some really funny bits in that show, but also with like the horror and the drama of these three people who have very real life problems. And I think each of there's like a vampire ghost and a werewolf, and they're all kind of based on addictions, essentially. Like that's the allegory. And they do some really interesting things with exploring those three kind of problems that they've got, whether it's addictions or kind of mental illness, things like that. And there's some really great actors. I think Mark Gatiss is in it as a baddie, which is fantastic because he really plays it up. And it's a really good show. It kind of went a bit downhill towards the end.
It was always a bit campy, and I think maybe it sort of like it fell into that a little bit. And sorry, I just want to. You're right. Aidan Turner did end up being quite a big actor. And he was in The Man Who Killed Hitler and then The Bigfoot 2018. So obviously had a massive career.
I don't know if we're talking about the same person.
He was also in Poldark and
I was in Poldark.
I was like, I was
flicking through his filmography, and I was like, what the hell is this?
He does what he wants.
We really railroaded that, huh?
Yeah, that's the RPG, right?
Anything else, Liv, that you played?
But I have also played. I've been playing a bunch of Summoner Wars thanks to Wheels.
Oh,
I have been infected.
Best card game ever. Yeah.
Well, so I guess okay, I don't want to cross over two topics I'm going to talk about, but anyway, I know. So me and Wales, we have played around against each other, and I was very close to beating Wales.
Genuinely, like one bad dice roll screwed you in the end. Like if your dice had rolled a little bit better, I would have already been dead by the time I killed you.
Me and my gobos were swarming good.
Meanwhile, I was blowing up all of my people in your face.
That was super upsetting. But it was really easy to learn, and also there's a lot of variety and stuff. I guess for anyone who hasn't played it, I'll just actually, Will, do you want to explain it a little bit?
Well, I did. I've done it quite a lot recently. So there is a review up on the channel. It went up on Wednesday, and also yesterday I did a live stream where we played against the community, and they won. But Summoner Wars is a 2-player sort of like tactical combative card game. Sorry, not guard game. In which you play as summoners who are like spawning units on the board and fighting each other with them. And the objective of the game is to kill the other person's summoner. And once they die, you win. So it's like a sort of card game that you'd expect, like like Magic or something like that, where you're drawing cards and playing them, and you're getting resources and stuff. But instead of it just being like Magic or Keyforge, where they just kind of exist on the board, sort of abstractly, you've got an actual grid-based map that you're moving units around, and they can only sort of like attack and shoot into people that they can see and are next to, etc. So you're actually laying down like little defenses and stuff. So like there's a faction called the Polar Dwarves, for example, who have loads of different buildings they can use, and like moving spawn points that they can spawn things out on other sides of the board and stuff. So all the factions are super like thematic and different from each other. When me and Liv played, Liv was playing as the Cave Goblins, who are like sort of swarmy And they're quite tricky, I think. Like you can you get loads of free units with them, but they're all sort of rubbish. So you have to like really like flood the board to win. Yeah. Whereas I was playing as the Fallen Kingdoms, who are the kind of necromancer faction, and they can like resurrect people and like they can like damage themselves to get new stuff on the board and all that kind of stuff. But there's also like a few ability cards where you can basically destroy your own units in exchange for damaging enemy units. And then like these like zombie warrior basically things where whenever you kill someone, instead of getting magic for it, you would then just turn them into a zombie warrior from your discard pile. So I just had these great turns where I'd kill someone, turn them into a zombie, and then that person would kill someone else and turn them into a zombie.
The infection spread, it really did.
It was a good productivity. But yeah, Summon Wars is fantastic. So we managed to play Liv. An in-person game.
We did.
We were across a table from each other.
Oh, it was
flabbergasted.
I know.
What is this?
But we're going to be doing that as well on Wednesday, Meehan.
Yes.
That's the plan, anyway.
It's amazing. We're gonna go into the office. we're gonna play some board games together, like old times. It's very exciting, wild. And hopefully we'll get some interesting content out of doing that.
And if Meehan had her soundboard ready, I would say, yeah, it's going to be absolutely bonkers.
Exactly. And you did a review for Summon Wars.
Yeah, an absolutely glowing review. It's an incredible game. It's really, really good. But I already knew that because the first edition has been out since 2009. It was the first game that Plaid Hat ever put out, which I didn't realize at the time. But this, what we've been playing is a brand new second edition, which not only is like, slicker, more diverse. So there's the throwback. There's the throwback. Yeah. They've got way more people of color, way more like female presenting summoners, like loads of like just general things that you would expect from a newer version of an old game, especially in a fantasy setting. I think there's a few people who aren't necessarily sold on the new art style because it's a little bit more cartoony, but it's also just a lot less generic and like boring fantasy.
I think I generally prefer. I will veer more towards the cartoonier aesthetic with these kind of things, especially when it comes to fantasy, because when you don't do it, unless you got some really interesting characters and designs, it just doesn't work. It's not as memorable. So, and there's an app version of the game now that you can play.
So in the original edition had an app that you downloaded via like Google Play or iOS or whatever. But now what they've done is it's called Summoner Wars Online. It is like a subscription thing, but it's like $3 a month for like everything, and you can cancel whenever you want. So it's pretty cheap. But the cool thing about Summoner Wars Online is it's browser based, which means that you can play it on literally any device, anywhere, whenever you want. So like it'll run on your mobile, it'll run on your laptop, run on your PC. It can run on pretty much anything that you could probably play it on like a smart TV or like it's you play it wherever you want.
Right? Can you play it on the screen display on your fridge or not?
If you can get on a browser on the screen display of your fridge, which if you've hacked the like Android shell that it's running, then you probably can. Yeah.
There you go. It's like it's like Montero all over again. It's like Doom and Montero. And I think you two have been playing around with the app version as well. It's good. Well, the online version.
I've discovered that I quite like the Phoenix Elves. They're pretty good. There are certain things that I really appreciate, like that guaranteed, like there's this one archer character who will, once they move, they can immediately like do 1 point of damage to somebody, be a quick shot. And I really like as well that there's another character that can only take 1 point of damage when they're attacked by like a big like brute or whatever. That's really helpful.
The brute.
The disgusting brute.
The brute. I'm thinking of the brute from Libertalia now, but like
well, he was a brute. Yeah.
Oh, what a brute. Ruined my game. And there are like a bunch of other and then also you've got a card called, I think it's The Beast or like Flame Beast or something like that. And it's like a big like volcano guy, and just during the move phase, if it starts adjacent to a different character, like to an enemy unit, then it will just cause them 1 point of damage. And then you can also,
for the sake of standing next to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a hot guy.
Boy, just a hot boy.
Yeah, it sounds like a faction that just chips away at its enemies.
Mm-hmm. So one thing about Summoner Wars is that it's dice-based combat. So like you have like a potential to do 5 damage, not you do 5 damage. So like the Phoenix Cells are really good because they give you guaranteed damage, which means that whilst it's not as much, it's like you know what kind of output you can do, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really useful for me because my dice rolls are bad.
And there's now a written version of the review that went up today.
Edited by Mr. Jarvis.
Yeah, edited by Mr. Jarvis that you can read right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dicebreaker.com, links in the description below.
Yeah, so if you when you're done watching this,
not now.
You stay here, please.
You can go over to Dicebreaker.com and read that whole review and learn more. Any other gameplay stuff we want to talk about? What we've been playing at Wheels? Tell us about this Causa.
Yeah. So we got sent some welcome packages for this, and I've literally just done the tutorial, so I don't have a huge amount of info on it. But Causa Voices of the Dusk, which is a name, is a new sort of free-to-play card game in the same vein as things like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering Arena and all that kind of stuff. There are about 4 million of them now, but this is a brand new one. It is trying to do new things. My problem with it is I'm not sure it is. It's like the problem is, and I kind of said that we did like a list of like the best digital card games that you can play. So there's things like Slay the Spire and Arena and like Feria and stuff like that. So that, you know, there's a few games that are worth checking out because there's quite a lot. You know, there's Gwent and there's Elder Scrolls and there's
there was Elder Scrolls.
There's the one that Steam made or whatever. There's just like Hearthstone went big, which meant that everyone had to make one. So like there is such a massive amount from them. It's kind of difficult to find one that you'll vibe with.
From what I know, that the 3 kind of big ones are Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra, and Magic Arena.
Yes.
That's about right.
And then probably Gwent is just underneath those.
Yeah.
But I think, so the problem is a lot of these games, and I kind of said this, somebody shouted at me for Runeterra, which I haven't played, so that's probably my bad. But I just call them Hearthstone butts, where it's just like, it's Hearthstone, but, and then like, here's like 2 rule changes, which are like, sort of like slightly different. But there's like a pretty pre-established rule set that most of them are underpinned with, which is essentially like a digitized version of every card game that's ever been made. Every card game has got some kind of link to what Magic the Gathering originally did. So like it feels like somebody needs to make a card game that they just completely design from the ground up and just don't care what anyone else is doing. They're just going to make something that's interesting. But yeah, so like with Causa, that was a similar vibe for me, where it was just like, instead of drawing 1 card a turn, you fill up to 4, and damage is permanent rather than refreshing. Like there's just little bits which are just like, I guess, like they never really sort of like grabbed me. There was nothing where I was like, whoa, that's different. Even Elder Scrolls had like 2 lanes and stuff like that, and not massively exciting, but not like not just the same thing but slightly tweaked, which is what Causa felt like, unfortunately.
Do you have a contrasting opinion there, Liv, or are we in agreement?
So basically, like I think because I play a fair bit of Hearthstone, I haven't really gotten into Magic yet. I want to learn more about Magic, but yeah, basically when I went into Causa, it did feel like, oh, I know the rule set already, even though I'm in this tutorial, which I was hoping wouldn't be the case. But yeah, everything felt kind of like, okay, well, I know what I'm doing, and so I'm just trying to get through this. But there are a couple of points that are different and interesting, like what I enjoyed. Like it's called Causa, and you have your cause power. Yeah. So basically, you take the highest
Well, you don't have to,
valued
it's
card.
any card you want, but
It's any card.
I think you're encouraged to do the highest one because you can't afford to play it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. This is true. Yeah, so you can put it in your cores pile, and then like that stacks up depending on like each round what, like if you put another one in, and then that if you have like say 3 cores, and you can play like all of your 3 level 3 cards. I mean, it's like it's slightly different in that aspect.
Yeah.
And then you can also require cards, which if you need to use a card from your cores deck, you can do, but then the cores goes down. So there's a bunch of kind of like different rules around that. There's also like the leader kind of mechanic. So your leader is, you know, the face of that you are, your avatar basically. And when your cores goes up to like certain levels, like 2, 4, and 6, they can like do certain things, like grab a certain card or like cause damage or just like things like that. It's basically like a hero power, I guess.
Yeah, it just sort of triggers every now and again rather than you choose when to buy it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
which is a little bit weird. Yeah, there's just like a lot of ideas where they were like, let's try and do the same thing but a little bit different, and it's like, yeah, just not different enough. Like it didn't really grab me. One thing that I will say, and I think one of the reasons that I probably got addicted to Arena so easily is that like they don't just leave you once you've done the tutorial. Like there's a lot of games where it's like, here's lots of different ways where you can purchase things, but Magic is quite good at like giving you some freebies to get you tempted in. So like, for example, when you start the game, as part of the tutorial, you have 5 ready-built decks, 1 in each color, that you can start building from. So if you've got one that you particularly like, so I really liked the white Lifeguard deck, I can just play with that and then keep going. And then from then on, I've got like a thing that I can sort of like tinker with and tamper with and put new cards in. Whereas with Causa, again, it was just like, here's the tutorial, like here's the cards you start with, which are just cards. Like they're not really a proper built deck. It's just like, there you go. It's like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
But yeah,
there are some like interesting powers on the cards that like I hadn't seen before. They're asking me to come up with an idea of what they are. I can't tell you, but they were different and interesting. So that's so yeah. There's like you can have like support, and then that will like allow you to like have, it's basically another kind of hero power. Like you can add like
artifacts from Magic. Like this is the thing. It was like they put a new name on it, and then you're like, I mean, this is basically this, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, the worst thing, the absolute worst thing. The absolute worst thing. In like the 4th mission of the tutorial, they're like, by the way, milling is one of the base mechanics. And I was like, no, stop. Enough. Oh dear.
God. So we remain to see whether Causa, you know, has any cause to stick around.
Or it's just caused us some heartache.
I mean, I say this, I probably will play it a bit more. But like,
do it. Do it. It's I think sometimes it's easy to judge something at the start, and then you find out that there's a hidden little interesting thing that's going on.
Yeah.
But Meehan, as our resident news correspondent, flying around in the chopper.
I'm in the chopper right now. You
can't
see it, but I'm spiritually in the chopper.
You've got one of those like pre-made backgrounds where it makes it look like you're in your room, but actually you're in the chopper.
Yeah. I'm trying to pay attention to driving, but it's fine. We'll be fine.
Keep your eyes on the air, Meehan.
Would you like to give us a little preview of some of the interesting stories that have come out on Dicebreaker.com recently?
Yeah, so I mean, it's debatable whether this is interesting or not, but
great. I'm glad we've saved it for the podcast.
people want to hear us talk about it because it continues our seemingly endless saga of suffering under Monopoly editions, and it's the one we all knew was coming, and in fact we knew it was coming because it was actually initially revealed last year. So there you go. But it's just released now. It's Monopoly Dungeons and Dragons edition. Oh, yeah, baby. These two big franchises have come together and they've made a baby.
Have they come together? I'm pretty sure they own each other, don't they?
I mean, most people don't know that. So, yeah. It's. I mean, I think the big surprise was we can't believe it hasn't been done already, but it's the people have asked for it clearly, and it's finally here.
I would like to know who those people are.
Yeah,
so give them a piece of my mind.
Well, they're not looking for a piece of your mind, Will. They're looking for 22 classic monsters from the role-playing game, including demigorgons, bugbears, and beholders. It sounds like there are multiple of those in the game. They're not. There's just one. But it's just a enticing little appetizer.
Little aperitif, if you will.
Yeah. For the kind of monsters included in this game. So it's what you expect from a Monopoly game.
Are the proper esports, the monsters?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
what? Why?
Let me explain the lore of this game, Will. It's very important. You are, instead of property moguls, you are adventurers sent to capture monsters on behalf of, here we go, Volo Famp Gedom.
Oh yeah, of course.
Who you might recognize from Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Oh, this idiot. Yeah, okay.
God, bloody Volo. Yeah.
Yep. And so you'll be capturing these monsters for Volo for some reason. You'll be buying them with D&D currency, which is a nice, memorable name.
Wait, is it literally just called that?
Yeah, it's literally called that. Yeah. I wasn't being funny there. I was being deadly serious.
Right.
Yeah, and instead of chance and community chest tokens, you'll be getting encounters and treasures instead. So basically still random nonsense, but it's vaguely D&D themed. Again, I've not played it, but I'm just riffing based on information that I have. And the tokens you'll use will be like classic classes, so like rogue, wizard, whatever. And it's the same thing of whoever has the most money wins. But instead of the railroads, you've got some beloved settings, such as Castle Ravenloft and Tomb of Horror.
But yeah, but like,
it's not what I would go.
Why didn't they just make the locations D&D locations?
Yeah.
Look, mate, I didn't design it. I'm just saying what they're doing.
I don't understand.
Maybe they're not enough that are recognizable. They were like, oh, we'll just go with. I guess they were like, okay.
Right? There's like 400 setting books.
Yeah, I suppose they were like, okay,
and, all that crap. I don't know.
Well,
hey.
they were probably like, what's the most iconic part of Dungeons and Dragons?
Probably Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I mean, a dragon is a monster. Yeah. I think you can buy it. There's a red dragon on there. I can see from this JPEG. So that's
I don't know why for the delivery of JPEG really got me there.
That's
Harry Caring in the chat says, "What do you do? Buy dungeons?" And then very later on goes, "You buy dragons?" Just like trying to figure this out. I feel.
Yeah. Well, it's available now. If you want it.
I'm kind of mad about it, but
yeah. I mean, the thing is, people are saying. I always love the enthusiasm Meeha has when reporting on Monopoly. It's there to hide the despair I feel of, it's something that I've sort of resigned myself to. And sometimes the best way to deal with sadness is to be very happy.
A lady goes to the doctors and says, "Please, doctor, I am depressed." And the doctor says, the treatment is very simple. Just go read one of Alex Meehan's Monopoly articles. They will fill you with joy. But doctor, I am Alex Meehan.
But doctor, I am the article. Yeah.
I mean, as the resident D&D lover of Dicebreaker now, I guess, this displeases me, and so and so
explain why, Liv. Why does
it's-
this displease you?
it's just like you don't have to. That's not what it is. Oh, like the whole point of D&D is being able to like have like interact and adventure, and you know, like having that kind of sense of control. I don't see. It's just a reskin. It's a reskin.
Okay, Liv. Let me give you a very strong counter argument.
Oh,
All right.
Money.
Money. Oh,
Money.
Yeah.
I've
but
heard of it.
But Liv, what would your opinion change if we gave you £1 million?
Also, when you said this displeases me,
Yes.
I was imagining you as being like a queen on your throne, and like you've got your goons there, and they're like, "Oh, mistress, what do you think about what we did just there?" And you're like, "This displeases me."
Just backhand one of them.
Yeah.
Look, wait a minute. If I have goons, that implies that I'm some kind of villain in this piece that we've made up.
I mean, it's all subjective, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Morally speaking. So, you know, there's Maleficent, that film.
I do like Maleficent.
Yeah.
That's a bad film.
I'm not a fan.
Maleficent!
That is a very accurate.
I hate that kid with every fiber of my being. So my girlfriend at the time when that came out was doing a I think it was like uni, and she was doing like a master, I don't know, doing a dissertation or whatever on like the adaptation of fairy tales into film, because I think about 50% of the British population has done their dissertation on fairy tales or Disney films. But I was forced to go and see Maleficent, and I can't even say Maleficent because it's Maleficent every single time. I hate that kid so much.
Wills, if you like that film, you'll love 2, that's for sure. Because 2, so Gwen and I had one very drunken evening where we watched Maleficent 1 and 2, and that evening was split apart by a trip to the local shops to buy more Prosecco. It was essential. And I just became obsessed with the little creatures that are in that film.
Of course you did.
They got little like elephant noses, and they just live in the water. And I could only describe them with the word goober, which has come up in the past. But that little creature is the definition of a goober. Like just a weird, ugly, but kind of adorable little thing. That's the best thing in those films. So, also in the second one, oh my gosh, I can never remember his name, the actor he plays one of the other bird people, let's call them.
Oh,
Okay.
And Boo Boy, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very attractive.
Uh-huh.
There you go. Let's move on to this next news, please.
Yeah, maybe we
Or
should.
Meehan gets thirsty again.
I have a question. Is
Hello.
it only in bird form?
That you're attracted to him.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, I would say his name, but I fear I'm going to really botch it.
Okay.
He was in 12 Years a Slave.
Mm-hmm.
The main character, Chuetel. I've already ruined it. Apologies.
I'm so bad at actor names.
Yeah, I'm so
Mhm.
bad with my terrible mouth movements.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
Chiwetel
Yeah,
Ejiofor, apparently.
yes,
That's the way
yes.
Yeah.
He's a very attractive man in general. I'm sure he's listening to this.
Chiwetel, you listening? Hit me up.
But in that film, he is especially attractive. There's
Because
just a
he's a
vibe
bird
about
man.
him. Like
just say you like Birdmen.
Yeah. It's all right. This is a safe space.
I like bird people, Will. Because Angelina Jolie is also in that film, and she is very attractive as well.
So the latest with Gen Con, man.
Oh yeah, Gen Con. It's still happening apparently. But there is also a Gen Con online for obvious reasons. Because not everyone wants to go to a convention full of sort of people at the moment. But the in-person convention has lost 2 big publishers. So Asmodee will no longer be participating in Gen Con. If you don't know who Asmodee are, they're basically like...
Think of a board game, they probably own it.
It's them and Hasbro are like the big sort of megacorps of tabletop gaming. So them backing out is kind of like a big, like... So that means like Fantasy Flight aren't going to be there. Catan Studio, Days of Wonder, Z-Man Games, and also Pazio, which is a role-playing game studio that kind of best known for Pathfinder. Okay. So the other big fantasy RPG apart from D&D. Sorry?
Is it Paizo?
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean they can call me if it's wrong.
You're gonna have so many calls after this.
I hope so.
And...
Hello, Schwetzel. Oh no, I'm just on the phone with Paizo/Pazio. One second. Oh, hello. Oh, it's the D&D. Hello. Yeah. Okay.
Wheels. That would never happen because I would just hang up, or I would just hang off on Pazio and just put my full attention. Why the hell would I want to just talk to them? No offense.
On your multiple burner phones that we've assigned.
No, I'm imagining it's like, one of those sort of like, like stock traders in the 80s. They've got like 8 phones. They're like, no buy, no sell.
I'm putting you through.
Oh, it's Paizo, yeah. Ignore me. Anyway, Paizo, they do the Pathfinder. Who cares? They decided to drop out of the convention, so the physical convention. It's still going to take place in September. But we're not 100% sure who's still in it. Because a few other publishers
have 2 board games in like this cavernous empty room.
Yeah, we were talking earlier this week about whether Come On's gonna be there.
Come on.
That's not the proper way you say it, but that's how we say it.
Yeah. It's pronounced.
Don't say it the other way.
It's pronounced as if you were pressing the button on the little MIDI keyboard. The little MIDI keyboard that everyone had at school where it goes, come on, DJ.
Yeah, whereas the other way it's pronounced is the kind of sound we would have on our soundboard. Yeah. So there you go. That's what's happening with Gen Con. We don't know whether we're going.
Probably,
so don't ask us.
Probably not at this rate. I don't know. Like
we can confirm anything. Yeah. But it just seems like not a lot of people are going to be there.
Sorry, carry on.
Take your time.
Wheels has been overtaken.
I literally said carry on. I was coughing. And then everyone just paused to listen to me.
We were worried.
Oh, God. I had a bit of acid reflux. That was horrible.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh. Well, hopefully Gen Con won't suffer from acid reflux. I don't know how to link those. But, yeah, it seems like it's going to be a pretty quiet year, which is probably for the best. Yeah. It just kind of feels like with those big companies out, do you really is it still happening as far as we know? But there you go. So that's Gen Con. Yeah. Other news pieces you can read about.
And now other news pieces that are available to read on Dicebreaker.com.
I'm trying to hype him up, Will.
It sounds like you're telling them off.
Well, Chase did a really great interview with the creator of Iron Sworn, who they did a Kickstarter on Starforged, which is basically their sci-fi RPG. So that's really interesting. That I wrote about Not That Funny, which is basically a good version of Cards Against Humanity. There's a story about the Catan 3D edition, which you can buy for $300.
And it looks awful.
Yeah. There's also a really great piece on disability representation on D&D and other RPGs
Mm-hmm.
by Gabriel on the site, which I urge you to read about because it's a really important subject. And publishers need to get their act together and do a better job. Sort it out.
By the way, speaking of Cards Against Humanity, but better, like, if literally everyone in the world could stop emailing us about their new Cards Against Humanity clone, where, like, the second line of the email is like, if you don't have an edgy humor, this is not going to be funny to you. And it's like,
is that
okay,
meant to be Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah, basically.
Anything for my princess.
Anything for my princess.
Tommy Wiseau, stop emailing us with your Cards Against Humanity
Tommy,
clone.
stop it. Nobody wants to play your Cards Against Humanity game. Tommy.
Pack it in. We know you're Hollywood's darling. You just gotta stop. So that's all the news. You can read those stories along with Will's fantastic review we mentioned earlier, features, opinion pieces. We've got it all on Dicebreaker.com. Go there.
Do it, but not yet.
Yes, not yet. No, you've got to stick around because what are we doing now, Wills?
Oh, because right now we've got our weekly segment. If you are a person who has either not listened to the podcast before or who has only recently started listening to the podcast but then took a brief pause, perhaps, something like that, you might not know that in the last few episodes we've been doing fun little segments, little activities where we can get a little bit wacky, a little bit wild, a little bit silly.
A bit zany.
A little bit zany. Whoa!
Whoa! About a bit Billy Zany.
We've done things such as trying to find out what a randomly generated board game title would play like. We've done trying to guess which board games people are talking about and their 1-star reviews of it. But today, on this week's episode of the Dicebreaker podcast, we're going to be playing what has apparently been called the Celebrity Game Game.
Yes, you called it that.
Was it Matt Jarvis?
It might be, yeah. In reverence / celebration of David Dickinson's Antique Chase.
And Kenny G's Let's Get Saxy.
Yeah.
And the card dashing? No, that one doesn't.
And card dashing.
Card dashing. And a Kardashian board game.
And a Backstreet Boys Around the World game / NSYNC Backstage Pass.
Oh, and we almost forgot Vanilla Ice's electronic rap game.
Of course.
How could we?
There's been a lot. There's been a lot.
Punish us. That's 20 years in hell for that.
Please, Daddy Ice. There's been a lot of bizarre celebrity board game tie-ins. And you know what we thought, gang? We thought that some celebs who currently maybe don't have a board game, why not? Why haven't they been given the chance?
Yeah, they deserve it.
Oh, Vanilla Ice can have a board game, but Patrick Stewart can't. Yeah, that's what I thought. So we're gonna pitch some new board games.
Wheels, we've already done one.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau's Cards Against Humanity.
Oh,
Exactly. Tommy Wiseau's Cards Against Humanity from the Apple of the Eye of Hollywood. Wherein the rules are that you have to email Dicebreaker every week.
They're very good at it.
They're
winning. They're winning.
So we're going to ask for some suggestions from the live chat. We'll once again remind you, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, which now goes out every Monday for anyone wondering, then we record the Dicebreaker podcast live Fridays at 2 p.m. UK time. So if you want to come over and join us, then you can give us suggestions in the chat whenever we do one of these live games. So, sorry, carry on, Liv.
I was just screaming, "Come hang!" But also everyone in the chat is saying like so and so celebrity Monopoly, which I think honestly sounds like it could work.
Well, this is the thing: don't give us a board game title, just give us a celebrity, and we will tell you. Oh, hello, here he is. Speaking of celebrities, we will tell you what board game they were going to have as their tie-in.
It's Toto, everyone.
It's
Yes.
Toto, everyone.
Dicebreaker's very own celebrity. And he acts like it.
He
loves
does.
the
He
limelight.
really. As soon as he realizes that I've got a camera on, he's like, "Hello." Right. So immediately we've got Brendan Fraser in the chat.
Yeah, of course he got Brendan Fraser in the chat.
I wonder what we're gonna.
He's Dicebreaker's mascot.
He's the Ubermensch.
I mean, when we were playing Camel Up, we talked about how we would love to have, like, the Mummy version of Camel Up, or the Mummy the board game with Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser. Wait, Brendan Fraser's the Mummy the board game.
Do you know what's quite funny? When I saw that comment, because I think it was Hatchinov said Brendan Fraser's Camel Up, I momentarily confused the games Camel Up and Buckaroo. So now I'm imagining a little plastic model of Brendan Fraser that you hang things off of.
Right.
Oh, it's not Brendan Fraser riding like a horse. It's Brendan Fraser that we're putting stuff
Brendan
on.
Fraser as a horse.
Oh,
Yeah,
as
a horse.
My bad, of course.
I was about to say something that I decided against it.
Me and I know what you were up to.
For propriety reasons. But no, I mean, Brendan Fraser is such, like, he's such a talent.
Yeah.
So, like, and he's so good in The Mummy. So maybe we should do a fun board game with Brendan Fraser. Maybe just the Mummy the board game. I'd love that.
Well, if it was Buckaroo, you could hang all of his accolades off of him. See what he glasses. Or like Toto, how much spit have you got on me? For God's sake, man? You could hang all of the like love notes that he receives from all the thirsty people that watch his films. You know?
Yeah. People are saying Sean Bean.
Sean Bean. Oh, Sean Bean would have a great board game because you would have to get him through an entire film without his character getting killed off.
Yeah. I believe there is a role-playing game involving Sean Bean that was made by.
Play as a different Sean Bean, don't you?
Yeah.
It's
it was
Grant
made
Howard,
by.
isn't it?
Yeah, Grant Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, did a role-playing game where you play a Sean Bean, but different Sean Beans. Yeah, and you have to. I can't remember exactly what you do in that game, but
trying to stop the inevitable death sequence, right?
Yeah, or I think it's accepted that some Sean Beans will die, whereas others will live.
Oh yeah, you make a new Sean Bean every time your one dies off. I'm really enjoying the idea of like it's like a semi-co-op game where you're all playing to make a good Sean Bean film. And you have to reach like a certain quality for the team to win. But there's a traitor in the group who has to do the Sean Bean death scene.
Yeah, and I can confirm that Sean Bean has been in some pretty bad films, including Jupiter Ascending, which is amazing, and I urge everyone to watch it just for Eddie Redmayne's performance as just the most intense eating the scenery thing ever. There's just a part where he's lounging on a futon with just a waistcoat and some trousers, very tight trousers on. And he's sat there sort of preening himself. And then he does this thing where he speaks very quietly and he goes really loud because he's really angry. And Sean Bean is a bee man in that film.
He's a bee man.
He is a bee, but he's also he's a man. He's a bee bean, exactly. Yeah, some people Chris Nanos put Tim Curry.
Oh.
What would a Tim Curry board game look like?
Oh gosh, that's a good thing. I mean, maybe we're trying to escape capitalism.
And the only way that you can do it is to go to the one place that capitalism isn't there. We've got to take communism to space. That's the Tim Curry game. You're like building rocket ships, but you're not allowed to pay for the materials because that's capitalist. You have to co-op them.
Oh, and when you're playing it, you have to wear the exact same costume that Tim Curry wore when he was in Legend, which means that he has to wear the giant devil horns and like the big stilts that made him bigger and like the complete muscle sort of suit thing.
Have you seen that meme where it's like there's a talking bread, but it has Tim Curry's line from that film where he's like, the evil seed of what you've done germinates within you.
Yes, I have seen that.
No.
I have seen that, Wills. Of course, I've seen that.
What if there was a Tim Curry board game where it's Muppet Treasure Island?
Yes,
and it's
I'm on board already.
Yeah, it's an asymmetric 2-player game. One of you is playing as Jim Ladd, and the other's playing as Tim Curry's Long John Silver.
So that means one of you is playing as the greatest character, and the other one's playing as a dweeb.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, it's basically it's a quick little game. You play out the scene where they're singing when they're off their journey, and it's that bit where Jim and Long John are on the crow's nest, and Jim does this little "I'm a little boy and I am singing a song," and then Tim Curry just comes in like swinging his package around like, "And now it's Tim Curry."
So wait, what's the
mechanics are?
So the mechanics are
one of you is a dweeb and the other one is swinging around in
you have to come out on top from that scene. So like Jim Ladd has to get over his little choir boy voice, whilst also like sabotaging Tim Curry's perfect voice.
Earlier on, Sammy Critfiddle mentioned "Don't Wake Dad" or "Don't Wake Daddy."
Yeah.
I feel like this could have
Don't Wake Daddy.
Don't Wake Daddy. Like maybe like there's a bunch of little like Jims running around, and if they wake Tim Curry up, then he's going to start doing his thing.
You don't want to wake up Tim.
I imagine it's not Tim Curry's asleep. It's the fact that he starts off as lovable Tim Curry, but you will awaken inside him the character he plays in the aforementioned film where he's basically the devil.
What if it's just Tim Curry, but you all awaken different roles? Like, what if he's just like it all of a sudden, and you just have to avoid that?
Pennywise.
Yeah,
Pennywise
rather than it. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Pennywise.
Yeah, this is something I've been experiencing through the last 5 minutes of this podcast. So I've been remembering all the roles that Tim Curry's done.
Tim Curry role in existence,
and it's like it just keeps getting better somehow.
Yeah.
He just never misses. He just never misses.
Well, he's
anyway. No, we don't talk about that. He never misses.
Liv, when you started saying "Don't Wake Daddy," I got really worried, but also excited because I was like, "Okay, where are we going with this?"
Look, I'm just reading.
Somebody asked for an Elon Musk game, by the way, and I can't pass off an opportunity to call him an absolute knob. So
is this going to be the Tim Curry one with space, but you have to make a spaceship with all the money, basically?
What if you have to play as Elon Musk's PR manager and you have to deal with all the fallout from his stupid tweets as he's like, he makes some crap meme and single-handedly crashes the cryptocurrency market, and you're having to pick up the pieces.
And you always lose. It's like harder than Eldritch Horror. Like it's the hardest game ever.
It's like the original Landlords game. It's like it's not a game. It's a point. Like you're trying to make a point.
It's either that or it's like one of those games that you get from like the 90s where you have like a model of Elon Musk and you have to like douse him in slime or something, or like dunk him. Elon Musk must get dunked.
David Leonard Flanagan points out that there is already an Elon Musk game. It is called Snake Oil.
It's a shame because I like that game.
It is a good game.
Someone, I can't say this name very well. I apologize. Argyha Raihan said Raul Julia are in a voice. Raul Julia is the actor from the Addams Family, right? Didn't he play?
Gomez.
Gomez Addams, right?
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I did not know what his name was, so I have no clue.
No, I feel bad about it because, like, what a role, what an actor.
Yeah, talking of daddies, a very sexual role. Maybe there could be a romantic game.
Sure.
Raul Julia's romantic game.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like Danny McNamara has pointed out Troy Baker and or Nolan North, because they are interchangeable. But you could theoretically have like a new AAA video game is coming out. Is the main character voiced by Troy Baker or Nolan North?
Yeah, you have to guess whether it's it's voiced by whether they're voiced by Nolan North or Troy Baker. Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
Oh,
Oh, and
that's the whole game.
Yeah.
of course, Raul Julia was also Bison from Street Fighter, as I've been reminded as well.
Oh, wow.
The incredible line of for me, it was only Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. That's quite a combo of roles. That's quite a a CV.
And of course, Mike Jones has reminded me of the wonderful Grant Howart's Jason Statham's Big Vacation.
Yes.
Where I believe it's Wesley Snipes is trying to stop Jason Statham for having a good holiday, and you've got to prevent that from happening. So that is an I thank you for reminding me of that, because I remember reading the premise of that and just having a big grin on my face the entire time.
I was going to say a little while back, Connolly. Now
I'm thinking Phil Collins.
Board game. Phil Collins board game.
Featuring Danny DeVito, which is what Phil said. But
Danny DeVito board game. That is something that we should talk about because that's quite an important. Liv, exactly. I feel like we've been seeing the show here. What does the Danny DeVito board game look like?
Oh no, don't put this all on me. There's too much pressure. This is a give and take. Don't worry about. Danny DeVito game. Going out and fulfilling people's wishes. I don't know.
No, he's a little tooth fairy. Yeah.
No, but do you remember when this girl took a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito to her prom?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he got a cardboard cutout of her.
Yes.
And it was just like, look at him making dreams come true.
Yeah, he does make dreams. Danny DeVito does make dreams come true.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just imagine some sort of party game where the goal is to be the most sort of like, and this is not a slight on Danny DeVito. The goal is to be the most sort of like gremlinly, like weird, sort of like disturbing sort of person as possible.
Yeah. Who's going to crawl out of a couch? Who's going to offer you an egg in this trying time?
And crawl across the
yeah.
Who is going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's brother / twin? Who is going to deliver his baby? It's there's a lot of possibilities with Danny DeVito.
It really is.
Yeah. There you go.
I think we've delivered quite a few fantastic celebrity tie-in games. If any of the celebs that we've mentioned are listening, then please do get in touch because we're fully available for consultation fees of millions of pounds, or perhaps slightly lower with a discount. So a bargain, I would say, a bargain.
Yeah, it will do wonders for your PR and career.
Exactly. You can get in contact with us, celebrities, in quite a few ways, and you can also use that to ask us questions on this here Dicebreaker podcast.
Why are you doing this?
How do I make you stop? You can get in contact with us via emails, which is, I believe it's podcast@dicebreaker.com. Am I right in saying that, Meehan? You can get in contact with us in the comments of our Twitter feeds whenever we post about the podcast as well, on Facebook, on Instagram. So on Twitter, we are @JoinDicebreaker. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Dicebreaker. On Instagram, we are @Dicebreaker. On YouTube, we are youtube.com/Dicebreaker. Yeah. Get in contact with us any way that you physically can, and we will try to answer your questions.
And if you happen to have a direct contact to the Elzebub, then we'll probably.
Well, he works cool. Like freelance for us on the Monopoly News shift. So if you want to get in contact with us, he might be able to get to us as well. But more importantly, as we've said before, we record this podcast live at 2 p.m. UK time every Friday, and we will be answering questions from the chat. David Leonard Flanagan points out how great a segue that was. You're very welcome. Let's have a look at the very first question. Liv, would you like to read out this question here that we've received via the emails from Barry?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Do you modify board games you buy to make them last longer? I don't mind making some modifications to make a game work better or last longer. Examples: I know that y'all don't consider it a real board game, in quotation marks for real, but life.
How dare you, Barry?
But life. If you don't take the spinner apart to modify and glue it back together, it spins like garbage because it is a $5 board game you get from Walmart. I am taking apart a game called Downspin right now, and that has a series of interlocking gears, and you need to take turns spinning them to get your tokens to the bottom. But the pieces were made so terribly that I need to shave bits down to get everything to work properly. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks,
Barry.
A lot of a lot of effort to put into playing a game of life.
Yeah.
I've not heard of Downspin.
I haven't either.
But yeah, I can't think of games that I physically modified. Anyone else?
I know we got a copy of Monopoly once.
Uh-huh.
That was missing one of the cards. And so I took it upon myself to make it as a roughly 8-year-old girl. You can imagine my artistic / design skills weren't incredible. So when I presented this to everyone else in the game, the response I got was, "What is this?" Forever scarred by that comment. That's the only thing I can really think of with modifying, because my collection is still fairly new. It's only like a few years old. There's nothing really there that's sort of I've worn away or I've lost or anything. I know you can get, for example, fancier tokens for games like Scythe and things like that. You can kind of replace the resource tokens with like fancy little models and things. I think that's a great idea, and I think people who love that sort of thing, good for them, but it's not really something I'm that bothered by.
The only ones I've ever been tempted by, and I don't even own the game, but is the little like plastic embossed or like resin embossed ingredients for quacks, which look really nice. Oh, and also I was thinking about getting some like nice tokens for Arkham Horror, because I'm planning to play that game for like quite a few years, so like we should probably get some nicer bits than the little cardboard chits. I do remember as like a sort of, I think when I was a teenager or something, so we had some like family friends, and one of them made a Luton version of Risk.
I mean, it is a risk living in Luton.
For anyone who doesn't know, that's my hometown. It is year after year, for some reason, voted as the worst town in the UK by like the Daily Mail or whatever, because obviously no one who has ever voted on it has ever been to Luton. But yeah, there's like a merit, I think, in making sort of like personalized versions of games. I know there was like a service where you could get like a custom Monopoly made. You could get one printed out for you and stuff. It's called like My Monopoly or some crap like that.
Yeah, I'll get one made that's just called "This Game Is Bad." And all the cards say that. We've got some super chats.
We do.
For Abraham Kid 15 says, "Hey from Northern Interior Canada.
Whoa!
Stayed up all night to catch the stream.
For the first time in a while. Thank you
very
much, Abraham.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you much for the super chat.
We also got another super chat from Abraham Kid 15. $69.99.
Hey.
Thank you.
Well, we need the soundboard, me and gotta get on it.
Nice. Me and my friends had to modify Monopoly so our handicap or special needs friends could play and understand.
That's really nice, like slant on it as well. Yeah, like for example, I know that so my mum is a like dyslexia specialist, for example, and like a lot of, obviously the one font that everyone rags on is Comic Sans, but the reason that thing was invented is because it makes it much more legible for those who struggle to read, like with things like dyslexia. So maybe like replacing text with easier to read fonts, or like making like colorblind variants of games that don't have it already. But yeah, I think that's a really lovely way of doing things.
Very nice idea. Much better than my one was literally like when I used to play Mousetrap when I was a kid. and none of it ever worked. So I'd have to like finagle it myself to kind of like.
That kind of sounds like what Barry was describing, to be fair.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Shaving down gears and stuff. And like, I'm just imagining like putting little drips of oil into into the little mechanisms.
Exactly. Yeah, just like WD-40 on everything.
Thea Cochrane says, Luton Risk, do you attack and capture St. Albans?
No, it was only it was like they had made they'd gotten a map of Luton, like a sort of topographical map, and it had made different regions, so like Lucy Farm and like Puttridge, and like it was. This is going to be completely lost on anyone who doesn't come from the Three Counties area, but like this is. Like it was like a loving, like handmade recreation of the town that I'm from. It was very stupid but very funny.
The way that was written, by the way, just made me think of do you attack and kill God? Like that was the kind of energy I was getting from.
God.
Yeah, do put any questions you have in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. But we've got another question here. Wheels, would you like to read out this question from
I would
Cad?
love to, Meehan. Thank you very much. I'm somewhat of a Cad myself, so...
You are. That's why I gave it to you.
Cad asks, do you use inserts and crates made by third-party manufacturers, like Broken Token? I have known about Restoration Games officially licensing a Fireball Island The Curse of Volcar crate. From Cad. And this is something that I actually recently talked about in my Summoner Wars review, because the inlay for that game sucks a whole load of ass. It is a game that is predominantly run with cards. Like, it's got some tokens in the board, but it is pretty much all cards. And yet there is no way to properly store the cards in the box. So you like it's the classic like Fantasy Flight Games trough that you get, where it's like, go on, eat your board game rubbish, you little pig. Go on, eat it up.
Stop it up.
Yeah, good luck trying to get all the tokens in here, you little idiot. But yeah, so you get one of those kind of like it's basically just an open box, but with a divider in like 1/3 of the box, sort of sectioned off from the other. So you've got room to put like the rulebook and the tokens and stuff in the big bit, and then presumably you're supposed to put the cards in the small bit. But you either have to put them in the wrong way round, which means that as soon as you put the box on its side or whatever, they've all completely merged together with no cohesion whatsoever. Or, more sensibly, what you normally do with cards in that kind of configuration, if you imagine just like a long rectangle, you put them sort of like horizontally and vertically in. So like you've got them, like you have like a sort of, if you imagine a deck of cards and just expand it outwards, you've got that kind of shape that just sort of sits in the box. But the trough bit is too small to fit the cards in that direction. So you physically can't put them in that way either. So it's like, what do you want me to do with these cards? Yeah, in general, I can see why companies like Broken Token exist, because some board games have the absolute worst inlays I've ever seen.
They have the gall. They have
the gall.
To do that. Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned before...
Exactly.
As you mentioned before, Fantasy Flight is one of the worst, offenders I've ever seen, in terms of just they deliberately have all this empty space because they're like, buy the expansions, do it, and then you can put them in here and you won't have all this empty space anymore.
They use the same inlay for every game, the same trough thing and the same shaped box. So sometimes, obviously, you can't fit everything in that slot. Even when you're publishing the game itself, even when you're printing it, they can't fit it in. So, like, if you imagine, like, a sort of, like, cardboard folded, like, dip in a box and then it raises up at the sides, they put things underneath the raised bits of cardboard, like, hidden away. So we got a game at one point that I was playing with Johnny, and I didn't know where half the components were because they were hidden in the inlay.
Part of the game, Wales. Gotta find the components.
Sort it out, Fantasy Flight. Oh my god.
David Leonard Flanagan asks, what's a board game where the art isn't bad but it doesn't match the game in your opinion? When I first heard of Root, I immediately pictured the Redwall style of art but was slightly disappointed. Interesting.
I really love the root art.
Yeah, I love root art.
Liv, what do you reckon? Have you got like a game that you've played before where like the art just doesn't match the theme?
I'm sure I will if I take some time to think about it.
Ian, have you ever played a game before where like the art just doesn't match the theme?
I mean, some art is just kind of there if the theme isn't particularly strong. Some art is just kind of there to just serve the purpose of existing.
Functional.
I think, I mean, I'd say like the art of Splendor, I've always been a bit like, this is fine.
Aiden Folks in the chat is trying to stir here by saying Camelot 2nd edition. Loli's is not here, it won't work.
I refuse. I'm Switzerland now. I just won't get involved in those kind of arguments. I'd say Splendor's art is fine. To be honest, it does kind of fit the theme of getting jewels and things. But I've always kind of just been like, it's definitely on that level of this is fine. And personally, I do think artwork is really important for board games. It's not like essential, but I think it can really make a major difference. I mean, like one of the reasons why I like Root so much is because of the way it looks. I think the kind of games that I like particularly are the ones that often have artwork that really fit the bill. These kind of questions are always hard because they're things that
you have to think off the top of your head. That's probably
they're things in about 2 hours time. Something will pop into my head and I'll be like, that would have been a really good answer. But I do think artwork that fits the theme is really good. But also there can, not every game has a really strong theme, so you kind of have to roll with something that just looks nice. I think Azul does a really good job of that in terms of like the theme is not very strong at all, but the artwork still brings you in because it's like it's engaging enough. You're like, oh, what's that? What are you going to say, Liv?
Well, I was going to say, genuinely, I was going to be like, not that I'm trying to segue onto you, Wheels, but do you have any idea?
Wheels, what's a game that you've played where the art just doesn't quite match the...
That's what I was going to say.
I think there is something to be said about abstract games, man. You're right, of like, there are some games where it's just like, I'm pretty sure you could have thought of a theme for this, you know what I mean? Like, where they're just like, here you go, that'll do. And they'll just sort of fantasy, I guess. Here you go. Like, I remember playing, what's that area control game with, like, just really, like serviceable but dull art.
I need more to go on here, Will. I need more to go on.
I know that sums up a lot of board games. It's... Area control, you're on like an island and you're playing like
Small World.
Not Small World, sorry. It doesn't matter, whatever. There's a lot of games where it's just like, here's a goblin. And it's like, I'm sure you could have done something a little bit more interesting.
Terra Mystica?
No, sorry. It's going to be one of those games where I'll say it and you'll be like, like,
yeah. I mean, I would, when I was talking about Terra Mystica, I would say the artwork for that game is very underwhelming and like, that's very generic fantasy. I think generic fantasy is one of the worst offenders out there. I think you've got 2 categories. You've got generic fantasy and just rubbish, because I feel like generic fantasy should have its own punishment, whereas like there are just other ones that are like there was that new Sidekicks board game that was announced yesterday. That's Eric Lang's latest board game, and it's like a Disney one. And the thing is, Villainous looks good. Like it looks like it's got
a great game.
Yeah, it looks nice, and it's obviously uses a lot of the artwork from, or is inspired by a lot of the artwork from the original films that they're from, which makes sense because you want them to kind of be recognizable. But it's still got a unique kind of style to it. That's like, oh, that's fun. And this Sidekicks board game, the art cover for it is so awful. Like when I saw it, it's literally just like a grey cover, and then at the bottom they got some of the pictures of the characters. Like against coloured backgrounds, and they're the same colour, so they're like vague silhouettes. And I'm just like, this just looks awful. It's such a shame, especially now that Prospero Hall have been absorbaloft into Funko Games, which is so disappointing because Prospero Hall did some really good stuff.
They
this
also
game
made the Funko Games though, so that's they got what
I
coming
mean,
to them.
I don't know who exactly made those games, so it might not have been, you know, the people from Prospero Hall, but yeah, this game isn't from Prospero Hall. This Sidekicks one, it's from Spin Master Games. So anyway,
I will say, like, although I apologize for bringing it back up, like, I think the reason I don't vibe with the second edition art for Camelot, and I'm sorry once again saying it, but like, I don't think it's bad art. I just don't think it necessarily fits the vibe of the game. Like, it's a super like wacky, silly, like fun sort of game. So it can be like even if you think like, oh, that's a really beautiful box. Like, I think there are some times where it's like you play games, it's like, yeah, the art's gorgeous. I just don't know why they picked that sort of style sort of thing. And I can't for the life of me think of any other examples. So I apologize for once again bringing up Camelot.
It's real tough.
Yeah, I have 100% played games like that, and I just can't get them in the front of my head.
What I have to offer is examples of games where this is the opposite of what was asked for, but games where art is really taken it to like the next level. For example, Mysterium. That's the whole basis of the game, really. Like, but just that level of detail, and like it's genuinely what the whole game is about. Also, Secret Hitler is very good. Like certain,
very pretty game, very well,
super pretty,
well designed.
super.
We do. I was about to say something, but we'll quickly read out. We've got another super chat from Abraham Kidd, who has been saving them all up for the first time they've come on live stream, and says, "I was in game development and design, and our first project was a boated game, and he took points. 20 points off if they didn't quite fit." I don't, Abraham. If you could follow that one up with a non-super chat message. I don't quite understand what the message means. I apologize. But I was going to say, I did see someone recently talking about, there's, you know, a lot of the Reiner Knizia sort of like very pretty reprints of old games. So things like High Society and Modern Art and things like that. I saw someone saying that like they're really gorgeous reprints and like the art is really pretty, but there's a lot of the sort of like tongue-in-cheek kind of poking fun at like, you know, like the hoity-toity nature of art, or like the sort of the we're so lovely high society people who are actually really dirtbags, and like the games are kind of like a sort of satire point of like, you know, laughing at these people who are so invested in such stupid things kind of stuff, but you kind of lose that because they make them so pretty. And this was, I'm reiterating something that somebody else I think I saw on Twitter. I can't remember the name, but yeah, that's an interesting point of stuff where it's like, you know, if you try and do like a sort of pretty reprint with really gorgeous art, do you kind of lose some of the identity of what the game was as well? Like there's an argument for that.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I mean, there's that to and fro of like, do you stay true to what the old fans remember, or do you try and make it appeal to new fans? And I think it is the case of if you make something look nicer, like less like an old clunky thing from the 80s, then it is more appealing to newer players. Like that's the main reason, hate to bring it up again, that's the main reason why I prefer Camelot second edition. Just because I would rather have that box on my on my shelf.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any day of the week than the other one, because the other one to me I just associate it with the kind of games that we were given when we were like 10, because they were like Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And like that's a shame, because Camelot is so much better than, you know, the kind of games I would associate with that type of box. I think that's the main reason why I like it, other than the fact that I just really like the kind of style and the kind of feeling that it evokes in terms of it's got that like of the time period of like Praro, I think I compared it to. It's kind of got that
Orient Express, that kind of like, you know.
Yeah, which I think it adds a sort of classiness to it.
Yeah, no, I'm very much not in the Alex Lowley's camp of if you take the second edition.
That's the last time we're bringing it up.
I will point out, Aiden folks in the live chat has just said, we did today we played on a game called Atelier, where like right at the start of when the channel was still new, which was this game where like you are playing like the leader of an atelier, which is like basically like an art, like almost like an art factory. Like you've got loads of junior artists who are like making paintings, and you're kind of like sort of overseeing them, and you're almost like a sort of like a line manager for like classical artists. But that could have had like a quite interesting, quite funny theme of like, you know, sort of maybe a little bit like cartoon villainy, sort of like, you know, like I'm the guy who's exploiting people for their art, and bit tongue-in-cheek dark humor. But it was ethnos that I was thinking of. Thank you, Bumburius. Thank you very much in the live chat. That's what I was trying to say about it like earlier. Anyway, so there is like a missed opportunity there, I think, because they literally just went, oh, okay, well here's like a painting theme, and it looks like, you know, it looks like something from Bob Ross. You know what I mean? Like and don't get me wrong, I love Bob Ross, but it doesn't fit the game in my eyes whatsoever. We have a follow-up super chat from Abraham Kidd who says, our first project was a board game, and our instructor took 20 points off if the art didn't match the vibe of the game, which I think, yeah, it's an important thing to do when you are designing art for a game, because like they're supposed to be hand in hand, you know, just like theme and mechanics should be matched, you know, in the same way the art should be.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we've been chatting for quite a while, gang. Should we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah. We've been ordered to keep it quick, so let's do that. Okay. Yeah, thanks for watching or listening, if you're listening to in the future. You know, you can watch more videos on YouTube/Dicebreaker. Like we talked about, we this week we had the stream yesterday where you played Summoner Wars. You can go and watch that. Tomorrow we've got the last entry in Animon story.
It's a good ending. It's a good ending. People tend to drop off on our RPGs by the third episode, but watch it. It's a good ending.
It's a really wonderful ending, and I really enjoyed playing that game. It's a wonderful series. I'd love for it to come back. And next week, you know, subscribe if you're not already. Subscribe or come back to the channel for more amazing videos. You know, Wills, would you like to send us out?
That's fine. You were doing a good job. You were.
Yeah, it was really good.
So yeah, make sure you click the bell icon to get notified whenever we put a new video live. You can grab some exclusive Dicebreaker merch from dicebreaker.myshopify.com. And more importantly, Meeha was being very humble there, but you should head on over to dicebreaker.com to read some of the fantastic articles that she and Matt and Chase and all of our contributors put together. We've got all sorts of fantastic reviews and previews and all those sorts of things. So have a look out for those as well. And a few people have been chatting about it in the chat, but we have on the way, YouTube memberships are coming, which is very exciting, which means that you'll be able to sub to get extra exclusive content, which is very, very cool, as well as access to our Discord, which we're also working on. So loads of cool stuff in the works. So look out for all of that. Thank you very much. Weihan Lim has just pointed out that Meehan didn't do her classic emails.
It's because Lowly's kind of took over duties for a while. So I was like, I've been so used. Yeah, I've been resting on my laurels.
Go quick.
Email.
There it is. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for that Animon episode, and next week at Friday at 2 p.m. UK time for the live podcast recording. If you want to listen to this as a audio recording, if you just missed half of it or anything like that, it'll be available on Monday. But until then, we'll love you and leave you, and have a lovely day. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.